for coming together today. I do apologize for being a few moments late. We have pets and we have yes, and a number of important presentations. So I am going to call this meeting to order, unless there's an objection from my colleagues, and ask you all to rise so we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask our two representatives from the Unisburg chapter of DAR, Kathy Timniak and Betty Otterwall, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're not doing anything else. The family hasn't been notified. Let's see. First up on the agenda is Wednesday's Pet.
All right.
Former First Selectman Sherry Stenick. Tell us about your new friend.
Okay, this is Rupert, and he is about 2 years old, and I would tell you to run, don't walk if you were interested in this dog, because he's really sweet. He's just very gentle, hasn't been barking at all, which for a poodle or a poodle mix, I'm not really sure if he's mixed or not, is pretty unusual at this size dog. But he's about 2, he's not neutered, it's $50 to adopt him and get a certificate to get him neutered. That he's at 211 One Rod Highway, and we think he's about 2 years old, if I didn't already say that. So,
All right, thank you.
Doesn't seem to shed, so there you go.
This is our 4th of July special.
This is the 4th of July special. Come on. I'd take him if I didn't just take one last week.
Sherry, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, next up are minutes, but with the indulgence of my colleagues, there's a couple things I want to say just to start off. One, we are having the town 375th anniversary Grand Gala on November 15th, which is a Saturday night, so please save the date. We are making arrangements to have an absolutely fabulous affair up at the William Pitt Center at Sacred Heart University. Second, I want to congratulate the Town of Fairfield 375th Anniversary Committee, but specifically the folks that were involved in with Gene Harrison in putting together the town float that not only won one of the first prizes or top prizes in our own parade, it was awarded the Grand Marshal Award at the Barnum Festival Parade this past Sunday. I'm going to hold on the until a little bit later on one of the other components. And then on the 4th of July, there is some weather that is moving through our town and regions hereabouts that we do not have a final course or direction on. Given that, so everybody can be aware, we will make a decision on or about 1 p.m. on Friday as to whether we hold fireworks that night. We need a certain amount of time for preparation to load the fireworks on the barge and to bring the barge from Bridgeport over to Fairfield Beach. We need good weather, no rain, and no winds for that time period. So we'll be making the decision much closer to that. Please keep your fingers crossed, and please stay tuned. Around 1 o'clock, we'll get that out to all the news media and everybody else we can think of, but please look for that update around 1 o'clock on Friday. Yeah, we'll be happy to put that on Fair TV, assuming we can get a hold of Fair TV, 1 o'clock. We'll be able to get a hold, I have information just in, newsflash, that we will be able to get a hold of Fair TV, so it will be showing up on or around 1 o'clock. All right. So thank you for your indulgence. I just wanted to, follow up.
Question.
Go ahead.
If it's not on the 4th?
If it's not on the 4th, we will move it 1 day to July 5th. Same times, same location, 1 day later. All right, I think that's what I say here. All right, next up are the minutes. May I have a motion to consider and act upon the minutes of regular meeting June 4th?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion or suggestions, comments? You okay, ready to vote?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to hear, consider, and act upon the minutes of special meeting June 16th?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any comments or changes to the minutes of June 16th? Are we ready to vote?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up, reappointments. To hear, consider, and act upon the following reappointment: Ethics Commission. This requires a unanimous vote of the Board of Selectmen and also RTM approval. This is Jill Kelly, Republican, 158 Reading Road, for a term from July 14 to July 16. I have a motion to accept.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Ms. Kelly, it's amazing the schedule she keeps, but she's unable to attend our Board of Selectmen meeting because she's out volunteering. I believe that, at least speaking personally, Jill has been one of the most active volunteers in the town of Fairfield, making significant contributions in a host of different areas. So I'm going to suggest, at least from my perspective, we don't need her here to continue on with the vote, but any comments from my colleagues?
Sure. Thank you. I certainly agree with the First Selectman's comments on Mrs. Kelly. She's a wonderful person, and she has been a leader in our town for decades. I had the pleasure of first meeting Mrs. Kelly in 1993, over 20 years ago, and since that point in time, she has exemplified community volunteerism, leadership, and integrity in everything she has done, in every committee and commission she has served on, including the Board of Selectmen. So I wholeheartedly endorse her to be reappointed to the Ethics Commission.
All right. Kristen?
Thank you. And I concur wholeheartedly with my fellow selectmen. I believe she's a perfect fit for the Ethics Commission, and I think that we are very fortunate to have her in that role. So I'm grateful for her service and thankful for her service in all the areas in town.
Any further discussion here? Any comments from the public? Back to the board. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's give Ms. Kelly a round of applause. In absentia, and Jill, thank you very much for continuing to serve on this very important commission. Next up, First Selectman appointments. This is for information only. For the Clean Energy Task Force, William Levy from 194 Millard Street. This is actually a new addition to the board. It's a 10th seat on the Clean Energy Task Force. They're continuing their mission and drive to help Fairfield move towards more sustainability in our use of fuel, both in residents around town as well as in the town itself. Next up, item 7, for Board of Selectmen approval. To hear, consider, and act upon the following reappointment is recommended by the Board of Library Trustees. Jean Call, Democrat, 1158 Mill Plain Road, for a term of July 14 to July 20. This is to fill a vacancy created when Kristen Tierney left the board because her term has expired. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Mr. Call couldn't make it today because he's on vacation, but current chair of the Library Board of Trustees, Elizabeth Dillaball, is here to answer any questions. Any discussion? Would we like Ms. Dillaball to come up and give us some comments on Mr. Call?
Please. That'd be great.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's Jean Call.
If you could just say your name and
Oh, yes,
position.
hi. Okay, so I'm Elizabeth Dillabaugh, and I live at 109 Matilda Place, and I am new chair to the board, and I've known Jean for maybe 3 years, but in that period of time, I've known her to be very responsible, well-respected in the community. She has great professionalism, integrity, leadership skills, and I think she would be a great asset to the board. And also, she has a great enthusiasm. She loves the library. She attends library functions. She supports it. And she actually wanted to send her regrets. She really wanted to be here, but she is out of town, so couldn't attend. But she is thankful that you're willing to move this forward because she wants to get right in there and start working. So thank you for allowing me to speak on her behalf.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Go ahead. Just-
Go ahead, I'll defer. I
Okay.
don't get to go first.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your new appointment as
Oh, thank you.
chairperson.
Thank you.
It's a great commission, and
Oh, good.
our library system really benefits from the hard work that all of you do for us. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for that. Just quickly on Jean, a great resume, and based on the resume and your comments about her, I'm sure that she'll be a very productive and energetic addition to your commission,
Oh,
to
thank
your
you.
body. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. I know she would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for being here. I would echo my congratulations and good luck, because I know that there are always challenges to be faced, as there are with every board and commission. But today, I just wondered if you could just give us just a snapshot view of your process for how you bring Jean forward, and, or any nominee
Candidate.
forward, in terms of the way the process works. That would be great.
Sure. Well, as a board, we meet, and we know that there's a vacancy or an upcoming vacancy. We ask all members to consider, are there candidates that they think would be suitable and appropriate. There's a nominating committee that's charged with interviewing the candidate. All candidates are interviewed by the two members. There's the committee. It's a two-person committee, brings that to the board. The full board has a conversation, a discussion. It's a pretty robust discussion. And then we come to a vote, and the person is then offered the position and accepts or declines. And that's how we come to that decision. And we do ask for suggestions from outside the board, so it's not just the board members on their own. We will ask sort of a broader spectrum so that it is, encompasses a larger group, and then we go through that process.
That's great. Thank you for that. And I appreciate that kind of more encompassing ask.
Yeah.
I know it's also a little bit different, and I'm glad for that clarification in terms of other boards and commissions where
Right.
the nominating process is done differently, and this is through you. So thank you for clarifying
sure.
just for the general public. But I too, Mrs. Call's resume is definitely a strong one, and I particularly see that she's been involved in the Library Media Center as well in the
Right.
elementary level, and so clearly has an interest in that
Yes, she
regard as
does,
well,
yeah.
which is a nice blending of
Yeah,
our
that's
two
true.
systems, which often they work together.
Yes,
So
we're hoping to
thank-
promote that even more, so, yeah. I think she really is enthusiastic and would be a great asset to the board and I think the library in the town. I think she's very dedicated, so hoping that be a good fit.
Okay, good, thank you. And I think that, I'd just like to add in that I think that the Library Board of Trustees has done a great job in terms of your leadership of our libraries through some very tough and turbulent times here in the economy, and making our library one of the most productive, but also innovative
That's
in
what
terms of
we're
the
trying
programs
to
that
do
you
that.
offer and how you approach that. And we see that in the support throughout the community for, at
Good.
both the branch level and the main library, for everything you
Oh,
do.
good.
I also will compliment you on how the library's been reaching out to integrate Pequot into more of the programs in terms of what's taken place, so we truly have a functioning
Full
library
system,
system throughout the
right.
entire town. So
Yeah.
thank you for your efforts and your vision in terms of how to put all that together.
Well, we're going to continue, and the past chair has really tried to promote that, and like synergies and partnerships, and so we really want to continue that as a board. We want to make sure that things are seamless and just promote for the well-being of the town.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the board?
Just one, and I thank you for mentioning the past chair, and Jean is filling the shoes of Kristen, who
Right.
did do a phenomenal job,
She
and I
did.
just wanted to recognize her and thank
Absolutely.
her for her service as we wish Jean well as she comes
That's
forward.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly would emphasize your comments in terms of the job that Ms. Tierney
Absolutely.
did in terms of helping lead the board over the past few years. Mr. Conley, anything left on your side?
I'm good.
All right. Any comments from the public? If not, back to the board. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please convey our thanks
I will.
to Ms. Call for stepping up and filling a seat on this very
Thank
important
you.
board.
And she says thank you to all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, item number 8, from the Daughters of the American Revolution, to hear a report from the Eunice Denny Byrd chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. This is part of our ongoing program of bringing different not-for-profit organizations before our board to get a report. One of the things that we see on this board is how much of a contribution these organizations make to our town, but not everybody else gets to hear that. So that part of the goal here is to give them an opportunity to give us an update, but also indirectly give everybody in town an update on doing that. And we have Ms. Timniak and Ms. Oderwald here to speak. So, if you would.
My name is Kathy Timniak. I'm regent of the Eunice Denny Byrd chapter of the DAR. I live at Whites Hill Lane in Fairfield. I would like to thank the Board of Selectmen for this opportunity to update you on all the happenings with our chapter. Many of you may know we were founded in 1894, and we are celebrating 120 years of service to the public. The old Academy, our chapter house, which many of you are familiar with, was built in 210 years ago, which is in part thanks to Eunice Denny Byrd and her foresight to buy 9 shares at $5 apiece for $45 with the insistence that girls be allowed to attend the academy. Upon becoming the regent, I decided to undertake as a project with board approval the renovations and preservation of the interior of the building. We have painted the kitchen and updated it with new appliances. We have painted the new bathroom, which has a new vanity and sink. We have painted the hall in that area. We have painted the main stairwell and painted the entire old schoolroom. We purchased new displays and mannequins in authentic period costumes and restored the library corner in tribute to Fairfield's very first library, which many people don't realize was in the old academy. 250 daffodils were planted last fall, which was supposed to be a surprise as we welcomed our 375th this spring. And we replaced a dead lilac tree. The windows were cleaned inside and out and sparkled for the first time in many years. And in April, we finally had our grand reopening of the old academy and presented the restoration as our gift to the town for the 375th celebration. The more than 4,000 school children who visit the building on tours conducted by the Fairfield Museum will now have a greater learning experience. The old academy is one of the town's treasures, and the chapter is proud to have made these renovations at our own expense. We have never charged admission, and all our events are free and open to the public. Betty Oderwald will now continue with the update.
It's a privilege and an honor to live in this town where you can walk down the street and there's history under your feet. I'm going to review our birthday year. In January, we began a joint effort with Veteran Post 143, and Mr. Quinn is here tonight, to collect torn and tattered flags with setting up a 375th mailbox. And Mr. Tetra came to cut the ribbon. Since that time, we've collected 450 flags, which is a huge number of flags to collect, and we have the rest of the year to go. March, we had a tea to honor the winners of the area high schools with Good Citizens Awards. Those, the area high schools are Joel Barlow, Fairfield Ludlow, Fairfield Ward, Fairfield Prep, and Notre Dame. Those are the 5 schools that nominate good citizens and are treated to a tea and with their parents and so on. In April, we had awards to the American History essay winners. Those are elementary and middle school, and the winner this year was from Tomlinson. We had the grand reopening. We undertook the financial duties for the 375th food drive. And it was really flattering in a way that the bank thinks we were laundering money and put us through the 3rd degree, not something that we're used to doing. But that was the struggle, was to accredit ourselves with the bank.
It's a new world in finance these days.
You're not
in the
kidding.
times of Homeland Security.
That cheeky young lad at the bank said our charter was too old, we had to get a new one. We had a little...
Can't
words
trust
about
those
that.
organizations
No.
that survive for 100 years.
No. We collaborated with the town tree warden, as we have in the past with Ken Flako and the Arbor Day celebration, by planting 2 white dogwoods on Bronson Road, near Isaac Bronson's grave, but on the outside. And he's the gentleman who started the white dogwood planting. In May, we had a cemetery cleanup with the Greenfield Hill Improvement Association in the Memorial Day Parade, and we received the Selectmen's Trophy float, and that of the burning of Fairfield, and that's really an honor, and it's got a great place right in front of a mirror, so when you come in the door, you see it. We also placed wreaths at the cemetery gates of the 4 cemeteries with Revolutionary patriots buried there. And we received word that the brochure, which we had created, I think almost 2 years ago, for the Franklin marker, the Franklin postal marker, which includes a driving map of 5 miles through the town where all these Franklin markers were located, will now be up on the National Daughters of the American Revolution website under their historical trails. And that came as a complete surprise to us, but it's going to be there.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good news.
In June, we unveiled a plaque at the Greenfield Hills Cemetery honoring and remembering 10 Revolutionary War patriots not listed on the existing plaque. This chapter truly believes to be killed in the war is not the worst that can happen. To be lost is not the worst that can happen. But to be forgotten is the worst. So by adding these 10 additional names to those names, we continue to honor not only our Revolutionary War veterans, but all veterans.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get there. The DAR Youth Citizenship Awards at local middle schools have been distributed, and we have worked in collaboration with Mr. Tetro to get the flagpole painted, and with a beautiful big flag flying, and we're very happy to see that. July 4th will be the traditional 4th of July ceremonies, hopefully on the town green. July 5th, we'll be participating in the Family Fun Fest. August 16th, we'll have a War of 1812 walking tour, which I've done in the past. It starts at the Powder House, ends up at the town green, and we go in the academy where the roasted oxen was eaten, but we serve lemonade and cookies. September 17th and 23rd, First Selectman generally gives us a proclamation. That is Constitution Week, and we generally put an exhibit up at the library. It's off in the Center Library. September 14th is the 200th anniversary of the writing of the Star-Spangled Banner, and we will have a program on that at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock at the Academy, and the public is welcome. November 11th, we always have the Veterans Day reception after the ceremonies on Town Green. And of course, to December, there is the open house after the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, which this chapter planted in the 1920s, and planted 2 new little ones. So if something happens to that big one, we've got some other ones coming along. And we place wreaths across America at the town green. We don't do these things alone. We try very hard to work with other organizations in town that exist and have the same goals as we do. And I would be remiss if I did not publicly thank the Public Works Department. You have a crew of gentlemen there who are so wonderful to work with, Ed McCourt and George. I can't say George's last name, unfortunately. And Vince, who is our flagpole painter extraordinaire. I think he has done an outstanding job. And Jerry Lombardo, because cemeteries come under Parks and Rec. So we have to turn to Jerry sometimes and for some extra help with that. But it's a pleasure to be a DAR in this town. We have such a wonderful position on the town green. We can participate, and we get such cooperation from the town officials and all of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for all you do. A couple things just to highlight here. One is that I want to be absolutely clear that the reason we have a supersized American flag flying from our 100-foot flagpole out there is because that was a gift of the Eunice Denny Burr chapter of the DR. So thank you for that.
Thank you for letting
and
us
thank
do
you
it.
for your encouragement. As anybody who's driven by Town Hall in last week has seen the efforts, Phenomenal effort from DPW, whose members actually were up in the air, 80, 90, 100 feet in painting this pole. Also want to thank the Fairfield Fire Department for standing by for much of that in their help. It was, I think, pretty obvious that the pole hadn't been painted in the last 100 years because we didn't have the equipment around to do it. So it took a little while to sort this out, but DPW was both very good but very creative in terms of how they got it up there, and they did their best to be very safe. There's a little more wind this week, I think, than they would have liked.
It was a little
Um,
wobbly.
But they managed to get it done in time for July 4th. So both thank you for your encouragement in helping us to get the pole painted.
Love to encourage.
My husband calls that nagging.
And thank you for your gift. You know, there's so many things you do, and I can't list them all, and you've done a great job. I would point out two things. One, that the DAR award was something you've been handing out for quite a few years now. And I remember back in my junior high days at Tomlinson Junior High that my best friend was awarded the DAR award, and it meant a whole lot to him. So I want to thank you for continuing that tradition. And then second, the Old Academy, you've done a phenomenal job with that, and I think that I certainly had to look twice when I was getting my first tour and saw the mannequins, because I kept waiting for them to move. They are so lifelike that I would encourage everybody, you know, over this weekend to take time to get through the Old Academy Schoolhouse and see what education used to be like. But I'd also point out that when you look at the Old Academy and realize how few citizens lived here, and you look at the cost of putting that together, that was a major cost component and major cost commitment on behalf of the town to both build it and keep it going during that time period. And it was great to see that the DAR was also helping in the lead in getting women educated in the school at that time. But I'll turn the microphone or topic over to my colleagues.
Thank you. I will piggyback off of that. I also would like to thank you and your colleagues for the work that you do to keep history alive and to remember, and to help us remember our veterans and war heroes, but also some of the history. And I was very inspired to hear again the fact that that building was intended to allow for women, young girls, to be educated. And I'm very grateful that we live in a time now that my daughter and our children today can take that for granted, which isn't true in other places in the world. So thank you for continuing that mission. And as the First Selectman said, continuing to inspire young people to be good citizens and to lead and to carry on your traditions too. So I thank you so much for doing that.
Mrs. Timiak, Mrs. Olderwall, thank you very much for being here and giving us an update on your chapter and all the great things you're doing. And, you know, thank you for the update on your upcoming events, too. So people will know when the events are so that the public can attend. It's really a great reminder of our heritage and our history and what Fairfield means to this country and what you mean to Fairfield. So thank you very much for that. Congratulations on the Old Academy. It looks great. Everyone's excited about that. I did not realize that 4,000 students have gone through there. Is that an annual number or is it an annual number?
It's just students.
And you do that at your expense, and what a great service to our town and to our students as a learning experience that must be for them. So
Well, that's another collaborative program that we do through the museum. The museum trains the docents, and they bring the children in.
Yep.
And we never charge admission for anyone to come in or to see what the building is. It's not our mission to do that. Our mission is to educate freely. So,
thank you
yeah.
for that. And in addition to agreeing with all the comments made and everything you do, I do want to thank you for keeping that awareness alive of never forgetting our soldiers. You know, making sure that everyone remembers and everyone respects what they've done for our country, for our town, and for their families. So thank you for keeping that spirit and that education going.
Thank you.
All right. And just lastly, thanks again for the supersized flag.
Yeah.
Anybody coming through by the town hall at all this summer, certainly this weekend,
Yep.
please take a look up. That looks like the biggest flag in the country up there, so thank you very much.
That's great.
All right. Next up, we have the Fairfield Veterans Information and Advisory Service. And to hear a report from the Fairfield Veterans Information and Advisory Service, I believe we have Vanessa Marshall to give us a report. If you would please come up to the podium.
Thank you.
Good teacher always has handouts.
Thank you.
My name is Vanessa Marshall. I am a member of the American Legion, Post 143, 1443 Stratfield Road. I am the Fairfield Veterans Information and Advisory Center. I'm it. When I took over the position, I inherited a file cabinet full of incredible documents and learned that this organization was originally part of the community chest. It had a board, it had meetings, it had all sorts of fancy organizations. Over the years, apparently it was set up after World War II, is my understanding. It devolved to Charlie Sturback, who then was the sole person doing the work. And then Charlie became unable to proceed, and I am now it. Charlie used to hold office hours in the Post 74 on Old Reef Road. I tried that, and I found that nobody was showing up. So I decided to work from home. I also discovered that nobody answers the telephone there. So my cards have my home phone on it, and that is now, I work out of my home. I work by appointment. The services, my job is basically to make sure that veterans get the benefits to which they are entitled, and many do not know what they're able to get. I work with 3 major agencies: the State Soldiers, Sailors, and Marines Fund, which was set up after World War I and is currently in a state of turmoil. More about that in a bit, but the benefits provided by Soldiers, Sailors, Marines Fund include food and clothing vouchers, payment of 1 month's utility bills, gas, electric, water, fuel, etc. They do not pay for phone, they do not pay for cable. I can get some assistance with rent or mortgage interest, balances of the medical bills left after Medicaid pays whatever they will pay. I can get a certain amount toward burial expenses, and if the veteran has absolutely no income, I can get weekly checks for up to 13 weeks, and amounts varying depending on the size of the household. I work with the VA, or the VHA, the Veterans Health Administration. I do not handle VBA, which is Veterans Benefit Administration, which handles home loans, education, etc. I do not do that. But my concern is making sure that the veterans are registered for care at the VA. I handle applications for service-connected disabilities, for pensions, and for aid and attendance or homebound supplemental benefits. I also refer to the vet centers that are in the area that are set up for readjustment counseling. I work also from time to time with the National Veterans Service Fund, which is headquartered in Darien, to get funds for those who fall through the cracks. The Soldiers, Sailors, Marines Fund handles only wartime veterans. If a veteran happened to have served in peacetime, he is not entitled to anything from the Soldiers, Sailors, Marines Fund. That's when I will tap into this other fund. In addition to getting monetary benefits, I answer a variety of questions. I assist veterans in getting their records, their discharge papers, without which you can't do anything. And I have gotten also the medals that somehow never got awarded. And still my favorite veteran, I was able to get his Purple Heart and Bronze Star for him and was able to pin them on him at a service at our post 2 years ago. And we buried the gentleman this week. In addition to answering general questions, I make referrals. I will get veterans calling for, I don't have a place to live. Where do I go? So I will send them to the Homes for the Brave, to an organization called Columbia House, which will assist veterans with the upfront money, the deposit and that first month's rent, to get them into housing if they have some kind of income. There's also the VA-sponsored Herrera Project, where they work, do a lot of outreach trying to find homeless veterans and get them in from the field and get them undercover and get some housing for them. There was something called the Stop Loss Program. If you remember, during the Iraq-Afghanistan conflicts, some service personnel were kept in country longer than their original tours. And there was a benefit set up where they could get some additional money for being sent over there and kept over there. And I was able to get some of that for a Fairfield veteran. I also refer to the workplace, to the Connecticut Department of Labor, the Employers Service to Guard and Reserve for employment and job assistance. As I indicated, the agencies I work with are the VA, which I don't need to elaborate on the difficulties that that organization is having. The Soldiers, Sailors, Marines Fund, thanks to our state legislature, is in total chaos at this point. They cut their budget. The head of the Soldiers, Sailors, Marines Fund said, I can't operate on this. I cannot administer a trust fund of that size with this budget, and he retired. I learned today with an email that even the local representative in Bridgeport, that position is now open. I can't get answers when I make phone calls. And as of the 1st of July, there's been this complete turnover. And I am now getting phone calls from veterans around the state saying, you're the only one that answers the telephone. Okay. The National Veterans Service Fund that I mentioned, that I occasionally work with, they made the paper 2 or 3 weeks back when the secretary was caught with her hand in the till. Yes, she's the one who ran off with over $100,000 and some $1,000 of the fund's money. She also, by the way, was the secretary for the VFW in Darien, so I don't know what their budget's looking like. Currently, I have 84 cases in my caseload. I will have 2 more as of this weekend. I have appointments to do 2 more intakes. Of those, 5 are what I refer to as out of area. I reside in Trumbull, and I am assigned to the Trumbull and Fairfield section for Soldiers, Sailors, and Marines Fund. But if a veteran calls me and says he can't get in touch with somebody or he needs help right away, I do not turn them down. I will do my best to help them out. I make, sources of referrals, how I get my customers. Clients. Most of them are self-referrals. They find my name on the web and they call my number. And I say that's why I seem to be getting these other calls, because they go on and they start down the list and they get down to me and gee, I answer the telephone. So I get a case. I have had clients referred to me from the VA, the social service department there will say, if you live in the Fairfield area, call Vanessa. And I get referrals from the senior center. I've worked with Terry and the new social workers there as well. I have done outreach in the past I've gone to the senior center, I had a program there. About 40 people showed up to hear my talk on benefits. I've gone to Port 5 and talked about what I also do there. This is my file of resources, of people that I can call. Any questions?
Not for me. I just want to thank you for all that you do for our veterans. Listening to my brother, as he completed his tours of duty overseas, come back and talk about the struggles that other friends of his are going through. Not everybody has a resource like you to help out, so I want to thank you very much for what you're doing for our town, our community, and our veterans as part of that.
It's my honor, sir.
Anything from my colleagues?
Sure. Thank you very much for all you do. And it's very important that our veterans coming home know what services are available to them and have proper access to them to benefit themselves and their families. And without a resource like you providing that, many of them wouldn't know where to turn. So your phone is going to ring, and thank goodness you answer your phone. So that's great news, and I want to thank you very much for that. If it's okay, would you like to take this opportunity as a public service announcement to, other than the web in the senior center, is there a phone number that people can
Absolutely.
can call you at? So
Yes.
if any veterans happen to see the program?
Certainly. They may call me at 203-378-0700, anytime, say, from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., any day of the week.
Thank you, Vanessa, for that. And thank you for all your service for all of the military servicemen and women that are returning to our country.
I echo those thanks. As the wife of a veteran, the daughter and granddaughter of veterans, I am extremely grateful for what you're doing for all of our veterans and for our community. It's a testament to you that you are answering the phone and that you are there supporting all of our veterans. Just a quick question for you about your caseload, 84 files. So 84 people who are primarily from the Trumbull and Fairfield area, but
Yes.
some who are from other places as well.
5
as you
from
said.
out of town.
Okay, so just, the 84 are all from the Fairfield and Trumbull area?
Yes.
Literally,
Mhm.
okay. And in terms of age range, do you find that your clients tend to be older or newer veterans, or do they span?
I got into this to help the new veterans returning. Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of them. I run a geriatric service for the most part. I have a lot of customers in Ward Terrace, and most of them seem to be, well, we're starting to run out of World War II veterans, but they are definitely senior citizens. It's just a handful that are younger, who have children under 18, that sort of thing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and it's great that you are partnering with Terry and the Senior Center and the social workers there. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thank you for the financial aid in sending out all those letters and things. Yes, sir.
Before you run off, and again, thank you very much for that, and thank you for kind of filling in the details for all of us, and including everybody at home on Fair TV, hearing everything that you do and how our contribution once a year helps with that. But along those lines, if it would be helpful, I think that my colleagues and I would look favorably on sending a letter to our state legislature in support of funding for the Soldier, Sailor, and Marine
Unfortunately,
Foundation.
it's too late. The bill died in committee.
Ouch.
Yes, ouch.
Would it help to perhaps bring it back in the, because there's,
I will be
I hear
attending.
there's an election coming up this fall for the state legislature, and
I will be attending the annual dinner for the Soldier, Sailors, Marines Fund on the 11th, and I hope to get some inside information at that time. If I think it would be worth the time and effort, I will let you know, sir.
if our community, this board collectively or individually can help in any way, please let us know.
Mhm.
All right, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you. Just quickly, I just wanted to quickly thank Mr. Tetro for putting these two items on the agenda. I mean, we're on the heels of Memorial Day. July 4th is around the corner, and our two organizations that presented today fit so nicely into the time of year that we happen to be sitting in, but also into our town's, volunteerism that we see every month when we come here and different people present to us, and how these organizations are benefiting our veterans and keeping awareness out there for all of our citizens. So, thank you and great timing.
All right. My pleasure, and again, we couldn't have this recognition without the volunteers that are doing all the work out there. So I think it's a great way to educate our community about the commitment to improving our community and volunteerism. So thank you again. All right. Next up is the Fair TV Operational Committee. Before I read all of this, I wanted to let the board know that Mr. Kennelly, who presented to us at the last meeting, had an emergency come up with work and is not able to make it here today. He's asked that we postpone this event to the 16th. And I see Mr. Leslie in the audience. Mr. Leslie, would you like to add any?
I think it's best to let Jim
Okay.
handle it. He's got all the details.
All right. If the board agrees, I would look forward to a motion to postpone.
I move to postpone this item to our July 16th Board of Selectmen meeting.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the postponement? Any comments from the public on the postponement? Back to the board. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The item stands postponed to our next meeting, July 16th. And just for the record, I think that may be getting a little lengthy. I think there are several things coming up
Oh,
at
is
that
there?
meeting. Yes.
Okay.
All right, next up, from the Director of Public Works, to hear, consider, and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Director of Public Works. Resolved that Michael C. Tetro, First Selectman of the Town of Fairfield, be, and hereby is, authorized to sign the agreement entitled Master Municipal Agreement for Rights-of-Way Projects. I have a motion to accept.
So
A
moved.
second.
Second.
Is somebody from DPW?
Bill was very
Bill was.
Mr. Hurley was here momentarily.
I think went to get him.
Well, okay. Well, we're waiting for Mr., he's here.
That was quick.
Sorry about that. Misjudged how long Fair TV was going to be.
No problem.
Okay. Good afternoon, Selectmen. I'm William Hurley, the Fairfield Engineering Department Manager, and I'm here to request and recommend the authorization be given to the First Selectman to sign the Master Municipal Agreement for Rights-of-Way Projects. The MMA, as it's called, for rights-of-way is very similar to the rights-of-way agreements in the past, and the MMA for the design projects that were approved last year. All the agreements have similar legal language and offer a chance for revision on a project-by-project basis, although deviating from the standard language would certainly hold up the project timeline significantly, but they do give you that opportunity. In comparing the MMA right-of-way agreement from the recently approved Valley Road Bridge right-of-way agreement, I think it was at our last meeting, the only significant revision that I could find in regards, it was in regards to the temporary right-of-way easements. On page 12 of the MMA agreement, the municipality is now required to acquire all temporary rights located within the construction project limit, while in the past, the state handled this process with a town cost share. So that was the only difference that I could see in my review. In summary, the MMA will help expedite the agreement and reimbursement process. If you notice on the signature page, the absence of the Attorney General's signature. By signing the MMA, the agreement process will be reduced 2 to 4 months by no longer requiring the AG signature. I'm making the assumption is that he's already approved that, and that's why they could bypass it. For specific projects, the town will choose whether the town or the state would administer these right-of-way process, and for each project, it would generate a PAL, Project Authorization Letter, that would contain the particulars of the project, including the cost share, the demand deposit, and any funding requirements. So basically, it's getting the common language or the legal language that's in all the state agreements, and basically getting that portion out of the way, and then the very small but very detailed project particulars, and then that would be in the form of the PAL, which I guess when the town signs off, that's the one that would have to go before the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the RTM. And that would get sent directly to the DOT, and they'd be able to turn that over, they're saying, within a week, as opposed to the 2 to 4 months that it would be for the Attorney General. So that's the proposal. It's a resolution. I don't know if it needs to be read or not. It's on the agenda, so.
Yeah, well, the resolution that we're voting on was read as part of this, and that's what was motioned and seconded. The entire document isn't read, because that's like, would be like reading the entire lease if we're going through something like that. But since we've had this, in advance of this, we've had the opportunity to review this. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Kristen?
So thank you, Mr. Hurley, and yes, it's interesting, it's coming on the heels of the bridge discussion that we just had. And I just wondered if you could highlight again for me, you said two things that I heard. One, that the difference would be that the towns would take care of and initiate the easement process.
Temporary easements.
Temporary
The final
easement.
easements or the slight property takings, the state, if we authorize them, the state would do that. And that's what we had agreed upon for the Valley Road Bridge one.
Right.
This MMA gives you that same choice. For, you know, if for some reason there was a particular project that we knew the taking involved someone in, I don't know, in a very peculiar situation, or in a way to maybe avoid court or something like that, if the town wanted to take that over. But as I mentioned to you before, at the last meeting, is we would still have to follow all the federal processes, we'd still have to do all the appraisals, we'd have to do all the legwork that the state would be doing anyway, and since they do probably thousands of these a year, they would do it a lot more efficiently than we do. Plus, on ours, if we were to do it, we would have to bring up all the costs up front and then get reimbursed, and you know, unfortunately, that's like pulling teeth sometimes. While the other way, they would, if the state administers it, we would be responsible for the demand deposit or our cost share, but that's it. So from a financial standpoint, I think it's easier to have the state do it as well. So on the MMA, that still gives us the choice. If we wanted to, we could always go the other route, but I wouldn't recommend it. But at least they give you that opportunity.
So to summarize, if I'm hearing correctly, in terms of permanent right-of-way easements, there's a choice. That's where the choice exists. However, with the temporary right-of-way, which could be the case here with Valley Road, for example, with this agreement and going forward in the temporary right-of-way, the town would then assume
Right.
that there's no choice and there's no state, it's the town.
That's what's in the agreement. In some discussions, again, under a special case, if we had asked the state to get involved, it'd be their choice, but they usually don't leave you hanging. But, yeah, right now, in this agreement, it would be that the town would administer the temporary rights. But usually the temporary rights there's usually no money exchanged, and it's just a condition of, well, if we take, say, 5 feet of property, that when we're done with the project, it's to be left in a condition better than it was, or the same or better than it was before, and the project's done. In the past, when we've done something like that, if we disturb somebody's driveway, we would repave, that portion of the driveway, or perhaps give them a street tree or some landscaping thing if that was necessary. So it's really typical of what most of the projects are. It's just that here they specified that the temporary ones, the town would be responsible for.
Okay, so, and in that case, the temporary ones, you're saying that upfront cost issue is not at all the same as when we're talking about a permanent easement or permanent right-of-way, which makes sense. The other question I had was with regards to the turnaround time, which is one of the benefits of this agreement. It's a big benefit, actually, I think, in my opinion at least. It's been a year, has it been a full year since we passed the design
Yeah.
one? It's, wow, okay. Have you had any projects that have utilized that MMA, and have you seen that turnaround time actually be as quick as we're hoping it will be?
The one example that came up, actually, there's two examples that came up. The state was very slow on their reimbursements for the Fairfield Intersections project that was associated with the railroad station and the Harbor Road Bridge. On both of those cases, because we had signed the MMA, they were able to expedite the payment. Now, again, it's a relative term. In state terms, they expedited it. From the town standpoint, it's still taking quite a while. We'd like them to speed it up even further, obviously. But in terms of the state, once that agreement was signed, I would say within a month, we were getting reimbursements. So that was a hurdle for them, I mean, the state, in giving us some of the reimbursements. So there was one of those, or actually two of the cases, where the agreement did help expedite.
And would the Kings Highway project also be an example of that? Are we there yet with that?
Yeah, I think that would be, yeah. As you know, we're just in the process of selecting a consultant for that, and so now, when there's agreements that have to be signed, when we go through our own town process, being that the MMA design has already been signed, it will bypass the Attorney General and go directly to the DOT. So, yeah, there'd be a savings for that upcoming one, yes.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Kevin?
Just a couple quick things. I believe I asked this last time around, and I just want to make sure, has our town attorney reviewed this master agreement and is in sync with the administration and your department on its, its wording and what it means?
I don't know if he's finalized. I know he's looked at it because the first day that it was sent to the first selectman's office, I believe he also received a copy, and he noticed that they used the town of Farmington or whatever town, so he had called them to revise that. So I know he's at least looked at it, and whether he's had any further comments, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any, other than correction, there were no
Right.
further comments from
Okay.
the town attorney.
Okay. And my other question is, it goes back to the timing that we were just talking about, and this might be a stretch, but I have to ask, is there a possibility that this shortened timeline, that this agreement allows us to have, to get through the process? Is there any opportunity for, what if there was a property owner who did not agree with what we were trying to do on a certain project? Is there any chance that their ability to defend themselves or to, go up against something could come in conflict with this timeline? Meaning they don't have enough time to react to what we're trying to do. Should that be the case?
I don't believe so because, as I mentioned before, the right-of-way process, no matter who takes care of it, they have that process, and it has to meet the federal
Okay.
guidelines. And there was one project that was done a couple of years ago where it was dragged out a couple of years because there was a big disagreement.
Right, so
So there was no time limit. Now, it wasn't based on that, but we already had a right-of-way agreement in place.
you did?
So,
Okay. Yeah, so we don't foresee a case where a property owner could be disadvantaged because of this expedited process, because there's other processes in place in approvals that protect them along the way?
Yeah, that would be,
Okay.
the only thing is they'd be dealing with the state rather than with the town, and in some cases, that may be somewhat advantageous. And if not, as I said, I'm pretty sure the town could act as a mediator you know,
Right.
and that to, you know, try to get something along or get an agreement.
Right, we also talked about that the last
Right,
time you were
yeah.
here. Okay.
I mean, again, the state, obviously, anytime they can avoid going
Right.
to court. And again, I mean, that was the one project I just mentioned was the one that I was aware of. The other dozen say that I've been at least, or even up to 20, they've been going through the standard process without any problem or without any issues.
Good.
So in most cases, the state does work admirably with the owner.
Thank you. I'm good.
All right, then if I might, just to be clear, this agreement itself does not talk about any dollars, does not in itself, commit the town to spend any money. It really defines the working relationship between the town and the state on projects. And by agreeing to a standard working relationship, it shortens the paperwork or approval process. It's much like in real estate, having a standard binder or lease contract or sales contract, so you don't have to write a new agreement every single time. Is that fair?
That is definitely
Right.
fair to say. And again, if there was any money involved, you would have the PAL, the project authorization letter.
Right.
And then if there was money involved, if we did not have it already set aside through the budget process, we would have to go through the whole.
Right, but
process.
if there were
But
money
this one
involved, there
here
would be
is-
a separate approval process, as we normally do.
Right.
Right.
Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance,
exactly.
RTM, on the project.
Right.
And this also, in addition, allows us basically to opt out of the standard protocol or approach if we deem it appropriate for a given project. So we're still in control of whether we're going to agree to do this, if we pass this, we agree to do this in a general sense. We have the ability to opt out of it on a project-by-project basis if we see that as advantageous to the town.
Right, again, it would probably delay the project, because now you're going against the norm.
Right.
But certainly, there is that
But
option.
if we
yes.
chose to do that, we can do
That's
that,
right.
knowing full well that is.
Exactly.
And this, in essence, deals with the written agreement we have with the state, not the dollars involved, not the project dollars, not, so this isn't committing us to spending any more or any less than we might. So it doesn't address the dollars, just the process by which we work with the state.
That's my understanding as well, yes.
Okay. All right, good. Mr. Kylie, you'd asked my other question on
Okay,
just confirming for everybody that the town attorney has looked at this.
good.
So I think that's it from here. Any questions from the public? Seeing none, back to the board. Any further questions, or are we ready to vote?
Ready to go.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Kelly.
thank you.
Next item up is from the tax collector, to consider and act upon tax refunds as recommended by the tax collector in the amount recommended. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion or amendments?
I move to amend this item, adding at the end of the sentence the amount $6,794.14.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? Any comments from the public? Back to the board. Are we ready to vote on the amendment?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion as amended stands before us. Any further discussion on the motion? We ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Next up is private executive session, but before we go into that, I have one last community service note, just to remind everybody in Fairfield that we're encouraging you to vote for Fairfield as a fan favorite town in Connecticut. We've got a press release going out on this, but we're asking everybody to support our town. We're in the top 10 now, and we're trying to move up the list there. We have a website where you can go and vote called www.ctvisit.com/fanfavorite. So, thank you for your support, and we'll be keeping notice up on that. I believe the last day to vote is July 25th. So we've got 23 days more. Let's vote early and vote often. Thank you, Fairfield. Next item up from the town attorney is a private executive session concerning pending litigation. May I have a motion to go into private executive session?
So moved. Oop.
All right.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That takes a two-thirds vote. It was unanimous, so this board will now move into private executive session. All right, we are now out of private executive session. No motions were made and no votes were taken. May I have a motion to accept the attorney's recommendation?
May I, point of order?
Yes.
May I move to come out of executive session?
Yeah, according to the attorney's advice, we don't actually, we're already out because we're
All
back
right.
in public session.
Oh.
Wonderful.
So,
Okay, so new practice. Thank you for that
Yeah,
clarification.
we went through that in great detail with one of our other boards and/or commissions about the process on that. But I'm happy to have the motion to come back out if that's kind of in our tradition and folks are comfortable with that too. So
If it's
if
not,
you make the motion?
I would, just out of past practice, if it's not necessary, I don't think we
Okay.
need to do it then.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you
All
for
right.
clarifying.
Then, may I have a motion to accept the attorney's recommendation?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So moved. Thank you, Attorney Lottie.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, no communications, no other business that I'm aware of. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And have a happy 4th.
Thank you. You too.